Alrighty, and welcome to yet another data and API show where the APIs have 100% more structure than the actual agenda of the show itself. It is great to have you today. I am flying solo today, and there's good reasons for that. We actually have some fantastic shows coming up soon. Today is also our first time bumping out an hour. It is now technically, I believe, the 10 a.m. for the Pacific time zone. So hopefully that maybe works better for some of you. I apologize to our Eastern viewers, which this just became way more complicated and difficult to watch. So if you are from the Eastern time zone, I appreciate you joining anyways, and feel free to shout out in the chat. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I have a rough plan, but the way that I like to do these things is I have a rough plan, but I do these things live and from scratch because I kind of want you to see how the experience is for people coming from something totally from scratch, like not something that I've prepared hours in advance and make it seem like this is just super easy and it's all rainbows and butterflies and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. What we're going to try to connect, I'm going to pull up my screen here. I'm going to be bringing up the second screen today, which I don't usually do, but I think today is going to be needing that. This is the agenda. A nice big pretty screen there. The agenda is to connect the RIDB API, which is the recreational database for the U.S. Department of State, or I think the Department of Interior. Sorry, I don't think the Department of State cares who's camping necessarily. But this is the API that a long time ago I actually did. One of my first projects with Hazura was taking the open database that they have behind this and porting it to Hazura, putting a GraphQL API on it. That is a valid workflow, but the fact is that a lot of cases, maybe you have an existing API in place like recreation.gov does, and you want to actually be able to map this with some kind of GraphQL functionalities. Well, that's what we're actually going to be covering today, is talking about the REST connectors, which are live now. They are available on in open source. They're also available on cloud. If you use the Google cloud, they'll be launched on the AWS cloud soon. But the feature that's not there yet, which we're going to be demonstrating tonight, is actually the nested types. So that's going to be a big feature of the upcoming workshop that I am teaching on Thursday. So if you're interested in that, definitely go sign up for the workshop. Again, another free workshop from Hazura, and that'll be a lot more in-depth detail there. But we're going to go ahead and kind of have a sneak peek at that. I had another video earlier in the week, which you can have a peek at as well. But that's what we're going to do. So let's go and get this started. I'm going to go ahead and open up a terminal here. And we're just going to go ahead and create some structure here. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate into my typical demos here. And I'm going to go inside of my demos, and we're just going to make a new one here called the nested RIDB. Why not? All right, so we're going to go into the nested RIDB. And from there, we're going to go ahead and actually init a new Hazura project. So we're just going to be saving our metadata as we go along. So I will do a Hazura init. That's going to scaffold out a folder for us called Hazura, which is going to basically allow us to save all of our metadata and the details that we would want to maintain. So that is there. I'm going to go ahead and create a environment file as well for saving some content. And I'm going to create a Docker Compose file, which is going to allow us to actually be able to bootstrap up the project from the pre-release version here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this open inside of VS Code, move that out of the screen here, and we're going to put this now on screen. like so. And I am going to now open up some copy and paste code here, which is unfortunately off screen. I'm just going to snag some of my other code that I've already written in the past, just the Docker Compose file. Here's all that we're working with here. So inside of this compose file, let me go ahead and bump the screen size on that a little bit. Link to workshop says chat. Let me go ahead and grab that real fast. That is going to be the Hasura events introduction to REST connectors. Grab that real quick and pop that on chat for everybody to see. If you Google any sort of permutation of that, you will find it. The Hasura.io events, webinar, REST connectors, just Hasura REST-connectors will pull that up for you. All right. So with that being on screen, let's go ahead and look at this compose file. Hide out the sidebar there. So we've got the basic Postgres stuff. We've got the basic GraphQL engine stuff. I may have to strip out some pieces here. Indeed, I do. I am going to remove the Open Weather API that was part of the other demo that I had done. This is not something you'll typically need to do. This is just for pre-released versions, just, front end. It's hard. And we're going to go ahead and go with this as well. So this is just a admin secret that I have defined. What I'm going to do is go ahead and open up this env file where I will pre-fill this here. If I can, it should work for me. There we go. I will just, well, I thought I was going to be able to just easily do that. You know what? We're not going to worry about it today. We're just going to go ahead and paste all the secrets out live. So we're going to go ahead and call this the nested gov. Why not? And the other one that I'm going to need to utilize here is actually going to be the API key that I have from, not the secret, but the key that I have from the RIDB data source for the API. So let me go ahead and pull that off as well. This is as well off screen, which is less helpful for you to follow along with my descriptive words. Let me pull that right off of here. That is what I want. Yes, almost there, almost got it. Very good. I will rotate this key afterwards anyways, but we're going to go ahead and call this the API key. And we're just going to pop that right off real fast. So with Docker Compose in place, what we're going to do now is start pulling those images, and we will allow us to go ahead and get started. And I am going to go ahead and run that Docker Compose. Start bootstrapping the project while that's running. See here, failed because I already have something else running, so we are just going to see what I have running here real quick. Lots of engines. All right, let's see. I will go ahead and just stop these here real fast. So we're going to just go ahead and Docker. I believe it is just stop B64 A13 61C. This is extremely engaging television here, so I apologize. F23 and E33. ECC 715. That should stop all of those containers. Let's just go ahead and see. I'm not sure what VUNRENT. I'm not sure what that is in chat, but good. All right. Let's go ahead and see if that'll let me go ahead and run this image now. That seems to be working. While that is bootstrapping, what we're going to go ahead and do is utilize an interesting tool that I've come across recently. It is a REST plugin for VS Code. It allows you to run REST commands inside of VS Code. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new file here, and we're going to simply call this the ridb.rest. And this script, I'm going to, looks like the engine is started, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and close down that for a moment. We're going to snag the first API here. If I can get my keyboard commands down. We're going to attempt to go ahead and grab one of these API requests here. And I am going to use, let's say, campsites, which seems like a fair one to use. So we will just use the slash campsite. So the API base, let's go ahead and grab that. I've got just a bit of an annoying arrangement of my monitors here. The API base is going to be, I had a moment ago, I think it's actually just V1 API. Let's go ahead and have a look here. Yeah, we're going to grab this data API documentation. You would kind of expect them to have that a bit more prominent as to what the actual base API is, because I think it's V1. But let me have a just quick peek here. Will it reveal it to me here? So I don't. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to attempt this here. Well, we're going to see here we have the. Well, that's the example value, but I'm looking for the example request. I know that I pulled it up on another window, so let me just grab that. The base of the API is API/v1. Click on get. You think so? Nope. All right, that's fine. We got it. This is the base of the API request. We will use the /campsites to go ahead and test this out. I do not trust my spelling when I'm not live streaming, let alone when I am live streaming. And what I need to do now is actually enable a header here, which I have written down somewhere else, the special syntax of how they want to do that. So I believe that it is, I'm going to just reference this here as the API key, and I'm pulling that from the .environment variable, which again I named as API key. So we have that. So that I can send this request now, but the header I need to be able to pass in on its own. Let me go ahead and just run this, and we'll see what the error is. It should tell me what it's requesting for. If it tells me what it wants the actual header to be, unauthorized, does it tell me what header it wants? I think it's just the API, but let's go ahead and have a look here. We can have a look inside of the documentation. All right, API documentation for the authorization. So they have the authorized tab here. So API key needs to be the name of the header. So this plugin is the, let's have a look here. Let's just do some Google Splunking here. So VS Code REST plugin. Also do a search through my extensions here and just see which one it is that I'm using for REST. REST client, is that the one I have? Yeah, REST client. So for headers, we need to pass in can I pull this up inside of a more helpful place to view? There we go. Authorization. So it looks like it's just straight underneath there. So probably will allow me to just paste it as is right below. I think. So I'm going to test that out here. And the variable usage is this syntax. So let's go ahead and test it out. So we have the RIDB test here. In theory, then it is API keys, what I think we had determined that it was looking for. API, camel case API key. API key. And then we, I think, just paste it in as a space, or did they actually have the colons in there? I think it was colons. Yeah, colons. Okay. So we then put the colon in there. And then I should be able to simply pull in. I could hit a double. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. So we'll go ahead and send the request. So it did not like the request there. Can I see how it made the request? Did it actually send the header? It did not. Okay, we're going to just pull up in this extension here from the actual docs here. I think there should be a link to the. I can pull this up in a more readable format here. I think it also needs to be a get request. So maybe I need to prepend the word get on there. And let's try that. Let's try prepending get on the actual request. And then API key, I'm feeling like that's incorrect the way that's currently set up. Let me just see what happens here. Otherwise, I may have to switch to an actual proper tool so that you're not getting to watch me live debug here. So we have the which funny thing is, and I may just bail on this attempt here to do this in the fancy way because it's technically not even relevant. It was a cool tool that I thought actually was useful. Let me. Well, I can also just do this. I can authenticate here real quick with the token that I have here, and just confirm that actually. So, well, it actually looks like it might be all lowercase, which is interesting. So let's have a quick test there. And then if we try sending that request, unauthorized, what's the variable usage of that? So let's go ahead and just do a quick search on the VS Code. So VS Code REST client. Here we go. I think this is the one. Okay, the REST client for variables that I have defined. It simply provides that syntax where you search for headers here. We'll see it. Look for a demo of how they have this. Sometimes these tools get too clever. So I would say so user agent. Okay, that's fine. You can add the. Okay, I'm gonna probably have to bail on the cleverness here, unfortunately, because I did love the idea of it being clever. Sometimes that's the problem. Try a couple more attempts here. If it doesn't work, then we're gonna bypass that because I don't want to waste too much time here. Looks like, oh, maybe, yeah, I don't need the dollar sign. That's one thing. So let's go ahead and try that. All right. Quick find request headers. Yeah. All right. So we don't need the dollar sign. We have API key. We'll try that one once, and then we'll try the camel case once. And if that doesn't work, then we're gonna give up and just do this the default way. So I did tell it to send the request. So maybe it's actually fetching now. It's taking a sweet moment. So it could be that it's slow, so it might be successful. Let's have a look here. That could also be, okay, so what did we get here? Looks like 200 okay. So computer says okay. Nice. All right, so what we have here is the response. Let me go ahead and pull this open. I'm going to hide that sidebar here so we can see the data a bit more. We get a whole bunch of funky content, right? So we get the rec data. I mean, this is like government data to the max here, so enjoy the names. We get the rec data. We get attribute names, so it's key value, tuple, style, data stores, entity. All right, free one for the chat to first one to mention it. Entity valued modeling. It's a specific modeling paradigm. If the first person that can remember the name of it can mention it, but it's very popular with governments. Cool. So we have the data. We have what we're looking for. What we're going to do now is take this data and we're going to transform this into automatically typed content. And that automatically typed content we're going to go ahead and put inside of Hazura to be able to give us GraphQL-like responses from this content. So we're going to take this API endpoint and we're going to head into our actual project now. And to do that, I'm going to use our metadata saving approach. So I'm going to cd inside of Hazura, and I'm going to boot up the Hazura console. And that should give us because I need to tell it to use the end file here. So I'm going to tell it to do Hazura console -- before that, Hazura -- env file location is 1 level up. And I have then I need to modify one thing in the, yeah, it's not going to work, I don't think. Let me just check this real quick. Hazura.env, yes, because I need to tell you to go up 1 level. I still think it's not going to work, so I think I need to tell it that I'm using. Ah, that worked. Okay. There you go. So you can tell it's an hour later for me too. This may not actually be a good idea. I'm in Europe, so it might be might make this show a ton more fun for everybody. So we have this set up now. I'm going to go ahead and go over to actions, and here we're coming to the new stuff inside of Hazura. So here's the fun stuff. We're going to go to creating an action. Let's hide this stuff for now. And we're going to go ahead and tell it that our API that we want to use, I'm just going to use this as base. Best practice would be to go ahead and define your base inside of an environment variable and then use that. We'll cover this in the workshop, but then use that as the reference for all of the subsequent APIs that you'd want to use. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and paste this as the single endpoint for the handler. And the headers that we need to go ahead and pass through, we're going to tell it to use the secret, which we defined. That is going to be the API key. And I'm going to just paste that value in straight up because I didn't actually grab it. I didn't actually put it inside of my compose file. And again, I'm rotating this key anyway, so we're just going to do that. So all that kind of security. Best practice would have been put this inside of the compose file. Let me go ahead and close down the put inside of the compose file here, and then you could reference it inside of your actual project. We're not going to. Well, it might be there. It might be there because I booted it up with reference. We can try it. So we can try it, see if it'll actually reference that for us. So we can try it, see if it's there. If not, I have to just paste it in manually. But here's where we get to the cool stuff. So what we want to do is we want to make this request, and we want to go ahead and tell it that we want the outputs to map this. So what we're going to do, we have this thing called /campsites, right? This is our API endpoint. And so we're going to make this a query. Boost this font size a little bit here. So we're going to go ahead and make this be a query. We're going to go ahead and call campsites. And in this case, I'm actually not going to give it any input arguments. But what it is going to do is it's going to give me I'm going to eventually call the campsite output. And here, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to be able to declare this campsite output. But what we're going to do is go back to VS Code. This is where we're getting to the fun stuff now. So if you're still with me and you bore with all of that learning how to use REST live stuff, then thank you for sticking around so long. Here we have the response from the server. So I'm going to go ahead and select actually all of it, which I'm starting to regret this choice. Maybe I should check to see if there was an ability to limit that API response. Wow, look at that. That API is just like giving. That is the gift that gives. My goodness. Okay, so we're gonna see if this works without crashing the server. Let me just see if there is actually a way to limit the output on that. So campsites, is there a flag to limit? There is a limit flag. Okay. Limit, how do we pass in it's a query integer, so I could just append it onto the end. Looks like I should be able to just go limit 5, I would guess. Let's just try that real quick because this is a monster to try to work with. So we're going to try this limit equals 5. We'll go ahead and send that request. That appears to be a little more manageable. So we're going to go ahead and grab this content now. I was just concerned because the tool I'm using in this next step would probably not be happy with that. So I have this content, and I'm going to go ahead and open up a new file. And when I paste this in here, there's a cool tool, another cool plugin. This is also these are all available on the web as well if you want to not have a plugin. Yeah, that's why it took so long for the first time. I mean, come on, government. I'm not paying for you to not put defaults like that on APIs. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a search here now. We're going to say JSON to GraphQL is the plugin. And I believe it's actually from Walmart Labs. And what it does is it actually creates this type from the thing here. So from the JSON response, it converts it all to a type, which is super cool. And now we can go ahead and say this is the auto-generated main type. I will rename that one here shortly to the one that I wanted it to be. So I'm going to go back now inside of this type configuration file. There's a couple of questions in chat. Let me just quickly peek over. VS Code is great. Okay, come get find request headers. Yeah, I think it's a 200. Shall we do the same thing via Server Console? Yeah, so this, what I'm showing right now, is the part that is new, that's not released yet. So this is the part that's going to be coming in the next release. This is the nested types. This will be part of the workshop on Thursday. This is also the so the transforms, the REST connectors, which is this like ability to modify headers, ability to transform the request without the need for a middleware proxy. That's the stuff that's now available in the Google Cloud projects or the open source version. So we have this type here. I have said that I want to go ahead and call this campsite output here. I'm going to put this inside of as a rename from there. I'm going to have to see here. I haven't tested this yet, and there might be complaints about the all caps, but let's go ahead and see what it does. We're going to find out. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to save this. So what it's doing is it's now allowing us to do nested types. Before, if you've used actions, you will have noticed that you couldn't actually do things like saying that search would return another type, for example. It could only ever be flat types. And so now we actually have nested type responses, which is super cool. It's like rec data now returns an array of rec data. Like, this is the cool stuff. So getting super excited here. Please repeat that Graphql JSON plugin, please. I will show that in one fast second. Let me go ahead and save this. And we're going to have to test as if my API variable actually took. So this is the part we're going to have to see now if this is going to, if this will actually work there. So that may be the part that bites us in a second. So we'll have a check, but there was a request to see the JSON to things. So I'm going to go ahead and make another document here. So if I had some sort of random JSON here, let's go ahead and make a quick JSON file here. So we would have like standardized JSON. We could have user and Bob. And then we could have something like, so pets, it's an array, and the name of a pet is Fluffy. I think this is valid JSON. We could have something kind of like this. If I were to use the plugin called JSON to GraphQL, it will copy that inside of my pasteboard. Now I have the types, and I just pasted over my JSON object what I had put into my clipboard, and that is now the types. So I have user, which is a string value, and then pets is an array of pets, and then the pets themselves are name pets. So like, super cool. That's really cool. There is a really great website that is similar to this. I'm like totally delaying the voila moment, but transform.tools, all kinds of utilities, among which are things like JSON to types. So you could do the to GraphQL schema, I think is the one that they have. But yeah, cool stuff in there. So have a look around there if it's the kind of thing that you're into and need something like that. JSON to GraphQL, so you can take a JSON object and return that. So this is a really cool tool. Actually, these guys have done such a great job. These people have done such a great job. Let's give them a little shout out here in chat. So definitely have a look at that. It's a great toolkit. So let's see if that actually worked now. So we're going to go back to our API, and we're going to test if this worked. So now I can go to campsites, which don't exist. So something did not get saved. So we're going to have a look here. Let's refresh that real quick. I'm guessing there was a problem with my action there. So let's go ahead and go back to the actions. Oh, so it didn't save my action. So, okay, we're going to have to repeat a couple of these steps, but that's okay. So let's do this as the fast response. Action takes in the search for campsite, and we're going to remove the need for an input, which may be why it errored, but we're going to have a look. We'll call this campsite out type, and we're going to paste back in the types that we had pulled in from the transform utility. We're going to go ahead and call this the campsite out type. So that is the top level return type. The actual API endpoint that we are referencing is this one here. And then we're going to go ahead and say API key. We're just going to actually go ahead and paste in the string here so we rule out any funny business. All right, so we have this, we have that. We're going to go ahead and make a quick modification to the request options transformation. This is the part that actually is in the spec. We're going to go ahead and make this as a GET request. And so we have, what we can actually do here is we have the webhook handler, yeah. We're going to go ahead and put this on the end. So we can make this as like kind of our base. Then we can modify it like that. And we are going to pass in a limit on there of 10 because we don't want to blow up our instance here. Let me remove the transform tools off of the screen real quick. So with that being in place, let's go ahead and try seeing if it'll now let us create the action. I don't see any errors yet. But I don't see it getting added either. So what I want to do here is do a little test here and see if it actually is complaining about not having an input type. So we're going to go ahead and say that we have a sorry, of course it doesn't work that way. So we'll call this string. So in this case, I'm not, or you know, let's do it this way. Let's go ahead and give this a proper bit here. So down here now, what we can actually do is we can actually pass in this limit value as the body input. So what we do is we say that the body input.limit is what gets passed in as limit value. So invalid code should be fine with that. Let's have a quick look here. I have this also elsewhere. Let me make sure I have the syntax there correct on the body.input. Yeah, that is correct. No. Have passing in limit there. Not sure why it's not happy with the so if I did something like this, that would work. Then I can put in body limit. Oh, I may have to see why. Unsure as to why that's unhappy with that syntax, because that is the technically correct. I didn't write correctly limit on the action. Limit may have a typo. That is very possible. Yeah. Nice catch. This is why it's nice to have chat around for things like pointing out that I don't know how to type. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. Let's see if it picks up more happy with that. We have still, so I'm just going to check it real quick. I've got limit here as the input, and then we have, we're going to just follow this all the way along body. We'll let it kind of get back to a point where it's happy. Body.input limit. Well, it's not value. That is the correct syntax in terms of grabbing the value off of it. I do not believe that it's the. Well, we have this. So we have this live. So what we can also just do real quick is just not limit.value, body.input, not limit. Well, I'm wondering. I don't think it's. Just try this real fast. Get specific on it. What we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick look at the zero docs. Zero docs, they call this the action transforms. And Kriti Lang is the language that that this is. So we have the. Or could be this is the one when they actually enabled that inside of the query parameters. It's a way for us to test this. It's a way for us to test this so we can put this inside of so see body.input is the syntax here, but it's possible that it's not actually inside of query parameters yet. So let me have a quick look here at the thing. I'm going to change this back to limit because I'm hating looking at the way that is. So limit spelled correctly, very good. If we come up here now and we remove this query parameter and we put this on the end, and we did the. And there's also another potential issue here, input.limit. Possible that we need to add a sample context. So let me try doing that here real quick. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to do sample and sample session variables. So if no, I wouldn't do it. Okay, so it is possible that we have that might be a bug with this pre-released version because it's kind of a patched version as is. So let me go ahead and just hard code that for now. It's interesting that it doesn't actually show up here. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this limit 10, and we'll see if we can get it to work here first, and then we're going to come back through and have a look here. So we have this created here. We have everything defined. And now I'm trying to figure out why it's not giving me the ability to create the action again here. So let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Okay, I may have to lose this again. So I appreciate you all bearing with me again. This is an interesting. Let's make sure it's not an issue with anything in the types. And we can just rule out anything else here. So it's not an issue with the types. What we're going to do is check real quick on the. I'm going to lose the work here, so that's what it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and look at the database, make sure everything is set up. So it looks like there might be an issue. Let's just do some debugging here. Let's go ahead and grab that Postgres URL here. And we're going to just paste that in manually. This should not actually be related to the issue, but I'm going to connect the database. That's where it goes. Could be there's an issue with the metadata, the way I've got it set up. And I'm pretty sure that I did not pass in the admin secret correctly. So anyways, I've just added this manually because I think I did a goof with the actual CLI. Again, the workshop's going to be a little more polished than this, but we're going to go ahead and have a look now back to the action transforms. And let's see what happens if I go ahead and add one. This remote schema. Let's go to the action transform. Let's start this off really minimal. We're going to just see if we can get this to actually show up. I'm going to go ahead and pass in the string. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and save that as is. See if we actually get the action to save. Okay. So now we're actually getting saved behavior. So here we're going to go ahead and pass in again our limit. Reviewing everything again for the last time, hopefully. All right, so now we're going to make this a query and not a mutation. And we're going to tell this that it's returning the campsite output. I'm going to call this campsites. Campsites takes a limit and it returns campsite output. We're going to go ahead and paste in the types that we saved here. Let's go ahead and make sure that we got the correct I have to paste in those types again because I believe that I did not grab them all. So we're going to call this the campsite output. Try to avoid a typo as being the next issue here. So we've got this. We've got the base there. We need to pass in the headers, which is API key, and we're going to pass in again just the string there from the key itself. Great, and then we're going to go ahead and say configure transformation. Yeah, go ahead and configure the request transformation. This is a GET request. We're going to pass this to the / campsites. And we're going to go ahead and take the limit, hard code this initially at 10. And then I'm going to save this, see if it, that's fine. So it should, in theory, be happier. So campsites takes a limit, returns campsite output. The types are all saved there. Good. And then we have the base. Let's just test this real quick to see if it actually plays nicely again with that Kriti link, because it actually should. Body.input.limit. Does. Very good. So we'll go ahead and we'll save that again. So now we've actually made that dynamic variable. So I think there was a bug with something about the database and this being the Hazura console that's tracking metadata. So I'll have to see what was going on there. This would not happen if you were not using that version of it. So with that being said, now if we go back to the API Explorer, we see campsites now listed. So we have to check to see if it actually took the header correctly. But in theory, now what I can do is I can come inside of campsites. Wow, I am like typing like a champ tonight. So we're going to put a limit on there of 5. And now when I come down in here, I can actually pop down inside of the rec data. And I can start to grab things like campsite ID, campsite name. Let's see what else we got. Campsites, entity media. If maybe there's an image or something. It might be empty because I think most of these entries don't have images. But I have a GraphQL typing now. Let's see if it actually fetches. So it's saying 403. So it's saying bad request. So I'm wondering if I've exceeded my my request. So we've got the this was the actual request here. So the headers, it did take the header and it sent it across correctly. So let's just make sure that the API, I didn't trash my API rate limits, which would be hilarious at this stage of the game. No, so that's still fine. So we're going to go ahead and go back and just check to see if there's an issue with the action transform here. So we have the request. We have everything set up there correctly. API key, which I believe, again, is the correct name. Yeah. Header Hazura was sent to the webhook with the post request. Okay, so that might be the issue. Is it? No, it did send it. So that's the value for the actual header. It's not a post request, it's a get request. So it's sending the right the right bit here. So there may be something else to debug. We've got a few more minutes here. I appreciate y'all sticking in here, watching this to the bloody end. So we got the get request, we got the limit, we got everything else that has all seemed correct. Let me have one more look there at the API key, which again it should actually be correct. Looks like that's the one. API key. So this is not needed. This just means from the request itself. I'm going to go ahead and add it just in case there's something goofy going on. But we'll try that again here, and then I may try seeing if it'll accept it as a post request. I don't think it will. We're going to go ahead and go to the history tab here and grab that last query. So let's see what it does. Not a valid JSON value is the response, right? So and the response that it's getting. So there's what it might be here, and this happens sometimes, and this kind of has taken us now to the edge of the hour here. What happens sometimes is Hazura sends additional headers with the request, and it could very well be that it's that the API endpoint rejects that. That happens sometimes with some API endpoints. So that would be something to check here next, is to see if they've got a limitation on what's actually accepted. I would be a little surprised that that's the case, because I know that the tool here, let's go ahead and try sending this as a post request, just in case that happens to be the cause, but I don't think it is. And I want to turn off the client headers because they really aren't needed here. So the tool that we use to test, the REST tool here, that also sends additional headers. So let's see if it accepts a post request. I don't know if it will. Yeah, it doesn't like post request. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to take a look to see what we can do. Now, I'm wondering, there might be one more trick to have a look at with the GET request. So that's fine. We can try here. So it's not going to work with post. So yeah, the GET request. Can I configure? No, it's not going to give it to me there either. So that's something that we have to figure out. Or I'd have to do some more debugging to figure out what the actual issue is. What is interesting, though, is that you have this ability to map the API to actual nested types now. And so, as you can see, we were able to dig down inside, and if the request would have gone through, we would have gotten full dynamic typings from this entire endpoint. I just want to have one last peek here. So we have the GET request. It's going to /campsites. This is the exact URL. I'm even just paste it in here and run that to see if there's anything I'm doing funny. And that works fine. So so again, there's things for us that we're still working out. This feature is not yet technically live. So this is going to be a good use case to kind of figure out what might be going on here. Let me try reducing the request to just see if maybe there's a depth or well, no, that's just straight up strange. Unauthorized access. Did I save that action correctly? Last little peek here. Did I save that back from being? No, I didn't. So back to GET. And we'll go ahead and save that action. We'll go back to the API and just see if there was something funky going on with it being like it didn't maybe like the nesting, but I don't think that's the case. Yeah, so unfortunately, that was a bit of a lackluster end here to today's stream. However, what is interesting to see there is that the pieces in place are, you can now use tooling to take JSON, the JSON response of a typical REST API endpoint, convert that to GraphQL typings. You can now use nested typings in responses. This works for a number of API endpoints. This one I have to figure out a little bit more what's going on. If I can figure it out, I'll post that on Twitter as to what the solution was. This is something with a type conversion. I doubt it, because it was actually a problem with the request itself, making its way from Hazura to the, well, basically the government API was rejecting the request. So there might be something going on there where it's determining that it's a machine to machine, and it's not happy with that. This will be solved. These use cases, these are exactly what we're working on. We have a website called the Data Hub, where you can see all of the APIs that we've already added. There's just a handful of them at the moment. Data Hub Hazura. Let's try that. And so we've got just a handful on there already, but these are all ones that already work. And you can do full typing support for Auth0, for Airtable, Firebase, Prismic, OpenWeather. It's really powerful. The ability to now actually get a GraphQL wrapper easily around REST API endpoint, and stuff like connecting to legacy databases and legacy APIs. I mean, I was going for the full show today with the government API endpoint, and we were close. It actually almost worked. So this is the future. This is the future of adding legacy APIs and REST APIs to your GraphQL system. We'll be having a workshop again on this whole topic. We'll be covering Stripe and Auth0 and some pretty cool use cases for that on Thursday. So if you want to see more about this and see some more information and kind of a lot longer of a session on this, join us for that. Otherwise, I appreciate y'all sticking around. It's always fun doing some live debugging to figure out these things. And I'm super excited about this feature. And there's going to be even more powerful features around action transforms and these connectors in the next release, which I'm super excited about. So definitely stay tuned. And we'll be back on next week. And yeah, until then, we'll see you around the community. Bye.